Hey guys, what's up? It's American Pizza Books back again. And today I decided to do a bit of a different video. I kind of wanted to do a video on a particular author and just kind of discuss them overall and their work and the work of theirs that I've read so far, just them as an author in general. Because I haven't really seen a ton of content, reviewing this guy's, books or just on him in general. There's a few out there, but really not very many. And I'm kind of surprised because if you look at his books on Amazon, some of them have quite a few reviews. But it also seems like this author is very, very polarizing. It seems that there's a lot of division on this author. That it seems like either there's people that really, really enjoy his work, and then there's some people who really, really hate his work and really do not like it. It doesn't really seem like there's a lot of in between. I actually stumbled upon a Facebook post because I followed this author on Facebook recently, and I stumbled across a post promoting one of his books called Jimmy, which is probably one of his most popular books. If you go on to Amazon and you look up Jimmy by William Malmborg, which, by the way, that's the author I'm discussing, William Malmborg. But if you go on to Amazon, you look up the book, it's got over 1,000 reviews, so I think it would actually be his most popular book to date. But that's one of the books that I've read by him. I've only read 2 of his books so far, but I've absolutely loved both of them. And Jimmy was probably my favorite. It was probably one of my top reads of last year, if I'm going to be honest. But I went to the comments, and I was kind of surprised at the comments because it was like a war in the comments. It was like some people really, really, really hated that book and just were almost kind of saying some kind of mean things almost. Not just towards the book, but towards the author. And then there was some people that really, really liked it, and that were kind of along the same, thinking of as me as far as the book goes, because I really, really loved Jimmy by William Malmborg. I thought it was a great read. I would highly recommend it. And I might get into that book a little bit, do like a mini review sort of, but this isn't really like a review of like one book of Williams or another. It's just kind of him as an author overall. But there's, like I said, there seems to be a lot of division about this author. But like I said, I, for one, really enjoy his work. I've read Jimmy, and then I've also read Daddy's Little Girl. And both are just so, dark and twisted. And I think one of the things that William does really well is just getting into, I guess you could really say, the human psyche, I guess you could sort of put it. He's not afraid to go there. He's really not afraid to take you just into how dark and twisted people can be and whatnot. And that's really what Jimmy, in my opinion, was. Now, if you don't know the plot of Jimmy by William Malmborg, it's essentially the main character is the titular title, Jimmy. And we follow him, and he essentially has some really, really messed up proclivities. He's really into, I guess you could say, it's not even really BDSM, but he's got these really fucked up desires that he's developed over time. And what he ends up doing is he ends up kidnapping a girl from his high school and taking her to this abandoned warehouse, I think it is, and ends up tying her to just tying her hands up and just leaves her hanging and whatnot and does all sorts of fucked up shit. And that's basically what happens. Now, you would think from that description alone that we would just be following some, fucked up, one-dimensional, really, really creepy, dude who, is just the typical kind of psychopath, sociopath, and whatnot. But it really isn't that way. At least that's not how I got it. See, the main character with Jimmy, we see that side, but we also see the side of him spending time with his family and spending time with his family, his younger brother who is essentially his best friend in the book, and he's just kind of this awkward, kind of shy kid. He doesn't really know where he's a senior in high school. And he doesn't really know where he's going or what his plan is, or he doesn't really know he doesn't know what he's going to do after high school and stuff like that. But then we also see this blossoming romance between him and this girl that he kind of befriends, and she's kind of a new kid at school, and they kind of hit it off. And so we start to see their relationship kind of blossoming in the book and whatnot and so on and so forth. And we just see this entirely different side of Jimmy. It's almost like a completely different person. And I guess that's really the scary part, is that, some really sick, twisted, bad people can, on the outside, seem like normal, everyday people. But really, they're not. They're like, a very, very sick individual. But, when reading that book, I didn't, even though what Jimmy was doing was objectively just wrong and fucked up and just not okay at all, and you do want to see him, you know, face consequences for his actions, you're almost hoping at the same time that he gets some sort of redemption, that he's able to face consequences for what he's done, but somehow redeem himself. It's really weird. Like, I don't often feel like that for a character that does stuff like that, but William Malmborg made me feel that way about Jimmy, and it was a really interesting read. Just the character work that he did with Jimmy. I really appreciated it. It was a very good read. Now, and I will say, like, if you don't enjoy, like, really, really graphic, really detailed, I guess you could sort of say gory a little bit, but if you don't enjoy, like, really graphic scenes of, like, violence and, like, sexual stuff and rape and so on and so forth, you probably wouldn't, William Malmborg probably wouldn't be the author for you if you really don't like that stuff. But if you can handle that type of thing, and this is horror fiction after all, and that's the thing that you have to remember, is that this is the horror genre, so there is going to be some screwed up, like, fucked up stuff that's going to terrify you and genuinely disturb you. So sometimes there is going to be stuff like that in the horror genre. But like I said, if that kind of stuff bothers you, then you probably shouldn't check out his work. But if it doesn't bother you and you're just looking for a really, dark, twisted, just good read, then I would highly recommend William Malmborg. Again, I would highly recommend Jimmy. I would start out with that. That's what I started off with. Daddy's Little Girl is also a very good one. Not quite as good as Jimmy, but I still really enjoyed it. It was also just the same, very dark, very twisted, very fucked up, but really, really good in my opinion. Now, I can also see, like, people who are very, very big, like, literary elitists and literary snobs, like, probably wouldn't like William Malmborg because, his books aren't, it's not the next Hemingway or something. It's not the next Ernest Hemingway, or it's not, going to be War and Peace and stuff like that. I mean, he's not necessarily the next Shakespeare, but, like, if you're like me and you want to read a good story and just to have fun and just to entertain yourself and just get away from everything, William Malmborg really, really serves that, in my opinion. So, if you're not too big into the literary, like, side of things, I'm not saying that's a bad thing if you are, but if you're not too picky about that kind of stuff, then I would say give William Malmborg a try. But yeah, I really, and he's definitely I discovered him last year, like late 2020, but then, like, 2021 was when I actually got around to reading one of his books. But he is certainly one of, like, my new, like, favorite authors that I've discovered recently. And he's definitely, I would say, more of an independent author, because maybe that's the wrong term, but if you go into, like, a Barnes & Noble, or even if you go into, like, a half-price books, you might not find any of his work. Like, if you go to like, maybe a half-price books, you might find one of his books, maybe. But for the most part, you have to go into, like, Amazon and places like that to really find his books. And that's really how I discovered him, is Amazon. That's how I've discovered quite a few authors that I found out about recently. And I'll probably do, like, more videos like this where I talk about other authors that I discovered, because I definitely want to do a few more. I want to do one on Bentley Little, Scott Nicholson, a few others that I've discovered recently. But I would highly recommend William Malmborg if you like horror, if you like, just twisted stuff. Maybe even if you like, because just how detailed he gets and how kind of graphic sometimes, like, the only author that I can really think of that really sort of goes to that extent is, like, Clive Barker, maybe. So if you like Clive Barker, you might like William Malmborg. But yeah, I would highly recommend William Malmborg, highly recommended. And like I said, if you don't mind, kind of the more graphic stuff, then you should be should be good with his work. But yeah, highly recommended. Let me know what you guys think. Have you read any of his work? Do you like him? Do you hate him? I mean, just let me know. And I would highly recommend you following him on Facebook because he's actually seems like a pretty down to earth guy. Actually, quite funny. So writes a lot of dark, twisted stuff, but is actually a pretty lighthearted guy in real life. Who would have thought? But anyways, that's about it for this one. Check him out. Let me know what you think, and hopefully I'll be back soon with more content. So peace and have a good day.